Now, I'm going to be showing you a fly I call the Borders Greenwels. Now, there is times where you need a fly to sit really high, really up on the surface of the water. No, you don't want even to a point where it lifts the hook slightly. And these type of flies need to have long hackles. These like this one here. This is the Borders Greenwels. Now, it's a very simple dry fly. It's a great pattern to have. And if a fly sometimes is sitting too low, the fish will ignore it. And there's times you really need to set it up. And these spider patterns are perfect for that. But you do need to use, and I feel you've got to use cheap or genetic hackles I don't like as much. So you want to use like an Indian neck, cock neck, or a Chinese, where you get these long fibres. There is no fliss, there is no capes that was used in tying these flies, and I still prefer them, to be honest with you. Now, it's a simple pattern to tie. I'm going to use the traditional silk or thread, which is the Gossamers in Primrose yellow. Now, if you haven't got that, just use a yellow thread. Now, the first thing you've got to do with this is to wax the thread. Just run the wax through it. Now, to get the position of the hackle where you want it to start, I take it around about a third of the way down from the eye, start the thread there, and then work your way down, remove the waste piece. Take the thread to the point just before it goes round the bend. Now the Greenwels, I'm using one of the larger hackle for the tail fibres. Now these are really fine, so don't be shy with the number. You can always take some of them off if you feel it's too much, but I've found that there's plenty, that's ideal. You're looking for a tail length, at least the hook length, so put that in your finger and thumb. Tie it on with the waist ends towards yourself, come up with a turn over. Allow these fibres to come on top. Now that turn is onto the bare hook, and then keeping hold of the tips of the tail fibres, come underneath. Once you're by them, let them go. And then use this turn to lift, separate the fibres, and then lock it in with a turn. And you see that spreads these fibres. That's ideal for a tail. Trim them the length of the body, and make sure you wax your thread. Then you just work your way up. Take your time. Even if there's slight spaces, don't worry, but get it quite close to this point here. Now I'm going to come up about halfway, and then the way back down to the body I'm going to tie in. This is basically what it is a really badly marked cree, which I've dyed. There's more white in it than anything else, but I've dyed it grey. You could use a natural grey, but these it's much easier to get the capes. It's much easier to dye them. Now I'm looking at the underside of the feather, facing myself. Tie it in at the butt section at the bottom. Come up, remove the waist, again wax your thread, then come up, ready for tying in your hackle. And then you're doing one turn in front of the other. Sometimes they may want to twist on you, but just keep going, it'll be fine. Sometimes the stems are a wee bit thick at the bottom, sometimes they're not, but you've just got to work with it. This gives the impression, the grey gives the impression of the wing. When you're happy, come across your thread. Again, work your way up. 3 or 4 turns, remove the waist. These fibres that's going forward, we can trim them away. Just watch your thread when you do that. Now, I'm just going to draw back any I've missed. Again, just make sure there's 2 or 3 there that's going the wrong way. I'm just going to trim them away. There's always 1 or 2 fibres. I see where it's coming from. Trace the fibre, trim that away out of the way. There you go. You see how leggy it is? I mean, this has got a hackle length or a fibre length, right about twice the gape. And that's what you're looking for. Now we're going to do the same again with the Greenwels. This has got quite dark at the bottom, and it's light at the tip. So the first thing we do is remove fluff at the bottom. Just trim this the right length, and then the way up, tie it in. Again, make sure there's wax on your thread. Bring your thread back down, ready to tie in your hackle. The wee space there, as you can see, for the head. And then we just take our time, again wind up. Length is much the same length as the grey, or just slightly less, but that's fine. Now I want to try and get some of the brown, so make sure you wind this on, and don't be shy with the hackle. Cross your thread, 2 or 3 turns. Now I always make sure I wax my thread at this point. There's 2 or 3 turns got that, so just draw it back. Always take your time at this point, make sure fibres are drawn back, and then 2 or 3 turns, make sure it's locked back. Get your varnish onto your thread, and then whip finish. Take your time, make sure it's tight. Trim away your thread. Now the tip of the hackle is in there from the Greenwells. We can come in there, take it off. Now there it's there. See, it's a very leggy spider pattern. Now because you've used basically a very soft hackle, it's not a stiff Indian cock neck. When this hits the water, it spreads nice. It's like I usually call them long hackle dries, but they basically spreads away at the fly and it sits really nice. And there's times the fish just find these irresistible. So now a wee touch of varnish just in there, just to finish it off. And there we are. And that's what I call the Borders Greenwells. Simple spider pattern. Now, as I said, a spider pattern is a fly without a wing, and that's it. You can't go far wrong. Now you could rib it with wire, but it just adds weight, and standard fly like that is fine. You could add a tiny bit of grey dubbing, or even hare's ear dubbing, which again will give you a different fly, but this is the pattern I originally tied, so hope you enjoyed that.